Hello everyone and welcome to our City of Shakopee State of the City address. My name is Bill Reynolds. I'm the City Administrator. Let me get something on the table immediately and up front. The state of our city is extremely well and we have even better things on the horizon as we look to the future. So let's get into some details. First of all, I just wanted to cover briefly what our current form of government is and make sure that everybody understood where everybody fits into the general scheme of things when it comes to our system of government here at Shakopee. First of all, we are a council-manager form of government, which means that we have a mayor who is currently Bill Mars, who serves for a 4-year term. We then have 4 council members. We have Councilman Lehman, Councilman Luce, Councilwoman Mokel, and Councilman Whiting, and they also serve for 4-year staggered terms. And I am the administrator, and I work for the body as a whole. What that means is that I don't work for any one individual council member, but I work for the body in total. And if they make a vote on something, that's our responsibility then to carry that out. In 2017, about this time last year, we had the opportunity to sit down with council and take a look at some of their goals for the upcoming year. And when we looked at the financial goals, which is one of the most important things that we do, frankly, they essentially came up with these particular goals. 1, low taxes, continued financial stability, a stable tax rate, a regular community center operations funding update, and a park and recreation expenses review. I also had some long-term range goals that I wanted to instill into the organization as a whole. One of the most important things for me is to provide customer service, and let me just talk a little bit about why I think that's so important. In most transactions, for example, if you were to go to a grocery store, if you were to go to a clothing store somewhere, you're making a conscious decision to make that transaction. In other words, it's a choice on your part. However, when it comes to government, it's not a choice. We take your money. From my perspective, I think that gives us a higher moral responsibility to make sure that we're accountable and that we also provide excellent customer service for that taking. In addition, one of my other real things that I like to stretch is what I call true transparency. And what I mean by that is that, you know, for example, if we said we were being transparent about something and we essentially were giving you something in a foreign language that you did not understand or you could not comprehend, that's not being transparent. Sure, we're giving you the information, but we're really not giving it in a medium that you can comprehend. That's not transparency. From my perspective, you need to be able to understand what it is we're doing, and you need to be able to understand how we spend your money. As part of that, we've had a 2 to 3 year process that we've had with structural budget changes. And what do I mean by that? Well, for example, let's say that this candy bowl, that I have Kit Kats, Snickers, Rolos, let's say that this was our budget. And as part of that budget, you look at this and you say, well, there appears to be some stuff in here, but there's all kinds of things, and we really can't see what it is, and you know, we just know it's a candy bowl. Well, how about if we take that, the same stuff that's in that bowl, and we have one bowl for Kit Kats, we have a bowl for Snickers, and we have a bowl for Rolos. We're identifying what each one of those things are in our budget, in our bowls. And that's essentially what we've done with our budget. We've structurally changed the budget so we've made things more transparent. So you don't have to go looking through the candy bowl to figure out what candy you want. You can go straight to that particular bowl, the smaller bowl, and see exactly what we have in there, how many we have. You know, we have 4 Kit Kats in this particular bowl. You can take a look and see exactly what that is. That is more transparent. You don't need to understand how the budget works. You can go to that direct place and find out what it is we have in there. There are a lot of other things that, as part of that transparency process. One is that we've kind of changed the way we've done business in a couple areas, and one is our budget itself. Normally in the budget process, we spend 6 to 8 months working on a budget, and then we come forward with a public hearing after everything's essentially been done. That's not very effective when it comes to public input. So with the help of Darren Nelson, who is our finance director, him and I have 2 public meetings before we even start the process, and to get your idea and to hear what your priorities are in regards to where we're going to go in the future with the budget. And we will continue to do that. Also, in order to increase transparency, we've been doing a lot of other things. I've had coffees with the administrator. We even had a beer with the administrator at Badger Hill one night. We had a department head public meeting where we had all the department heads available to answer questions from the public. One thing I'm really excited about is that soon you will have in your SPUC bill a one-pager that basically outlines our budget for 2018, and we'll also have a lot more information on it, but it's all easy to understand. And so look forward to that in your SPUC bill coming up very shortly. And finally, frankly, it's this particular presentation, the state of the city. It's an opportunity for you to understand and take a look at what we're doing and hopefully ask some questions at the end of it or at any point. So what happened with those 2017 goals that the City Council came forward with in last February? Well, I can tell you that taxes, not only for 2017, but also for our proposed budget for 2018, essentially should have no impact on residents absent valuation increases. In other words, if your property values haven't went up, your taxes should either be lower or remain the same. Continued financial stability. We have an improved and stable bond rating, exceptionally well. And we just received the highest possible rating for our annual audit, which was a clean audit with absolutely no findings whatsoever. And that doesn't happen a lot. That happens with less than 10% of all organizations, not just cities or municipalities. And finally, we actually not only have a stable tax rate, we have a lowering tax rate, and I fully expect that will continue to lower in the next couple of years. So how specifically do we spend your tax dollars? Well, let's kind of dive not too deeply, but just give you an idea of where those tax dollars go. First of all, the general fund provides for our general public services. That's fire, police, planning, public works, finance, and administration, HR, internal things like that. For 2018, the budget that was just passed by Council, we have a proposed tax, it's an approved tax levy at this point of $19.4 million. And that goes to an annual general fund operating budget of $26.8 million. The most important piece of this is, and this is something that Shakopee has been for quite some time, and we're all very proud of here at the city, is that we remain among the lowest municipal property tax rate in the 7-county metro area. That's something we take a lot of great pride in. Now, we're in the process of, with this 2018 budget, trying to address some issues that, although may not be, at least in the short term, a concern, but certainly in the long term, we want to be able to get ahead of. One of those is adding 2 additional police officers that will specifically be concentrating on street crime. And why is that important? Well, first of all, let's note that we have our 3rd lowest crime rate that we've ever had in the city of Shakopee. So we're very proud of that. But we also understand that street crime has had an uptick, and we want to get in front of that, and we want to be able to address that. In the time of social media, the interesting thing is that in the past you may have not have heard of somebody's car getting broke into if you didn't live in the neighborhood. With social media, somebody posts it, and everybody hears about that. That then becomes part of your experience, and so when social media is involved, you become part of that. And so although it wasn't necessarily brought out by the facts, when you look at the social media impact, clearly there's some concern in regards to crime. Again, we're very happy that our crime rate continues to fall, but in recognizing that as we continue to grow, we do want some additional officers so we can look at that street crime area. We're also, for the first time ever, putting a full-time code enforcement officer on the streets. Now, that essentially is going to mean that we're changing the way we do code enforcement. Currently, we do not have what I call a proactive code enforcement. Essentially, if somebody complains, we then get involved. With a proactive code enforcement policy, we will be looking to be more active out in the community and noticing things ourselves to then take a look at and see if we can't get improved. And finally, when it comes to public safety staff, we're adding an assistant fire chief that will be responsible for training and development of the fire staff. This is an incredibly important position because as we continue to grow as a community, we need to make sure that we have the available people trained to handle our fire protection issues. It is not easy keeping people in the fire service. It is a very demanding work and there are a lot of training requirements. In the past, we've only offered those training requirements at certain times, which means that it was very difficult to get everybody together and make that happen. With having somebody full-time available to do that training, it allows a panoply of opportunity for us to train our fire staff. Even with all of this, our annual cost of services for our comparables, meaning those particular communities that are at the same level as we are throughout the metro area, and some of our neighbors, is extremely low. You can see from the graph that I have on the screen right now that we're at the very bottom when it comes to the comparable cost of services. Again, part of that is reflected by our tax rate, but more importantly, that's really what our expenses are. And again, something that traditionally we've been doing and will continue to do in the future. I'm very proud to be a part of this staff and this community. When it comes to our city staff as a whole, you as a community should be very proud. Let's talk about our unsung heroes, frankly, which is our public works staff. These are the people that are out there plowing our streets, taking care of sewer blockages, doing a myriad of things, keeping our parks looking nice, plowing our trails. These guys really do yeoman's work, and I would hope that you appreciate them as a community as much as I do. I would ask that if sometime you see them working along in streets and it's cold out or something else, don't be afraid to roll down the window and just say thank you. They really are among our best employees in the community. We have a lot of recognition when it comes to those people that are employed here. You know, we've got the Minnesota Engineer of the Year and Bruce Loney, who recently retired. We have the Minnesota Planner of the Year that we received very recently. We also had the Minnesota Engineering Project of the Year, runner-up. Our PHS Top Spots Award for the Fun for All Playground, which the Parks and Recs Department put together and was able to do great fundraising work for, an excellent program across the board. And we recently were recognized as having the best capital improvement plan in the area. Well, what are some of the projects that we have been doing as a city? I'm coming to you from our new City Hall, which was just completed in August of 2017. This building was specifically designed for two things: workflow, meaning our internal work processes, and secondly, customer service. Our old building, which was a bank, was not designed as a city hall, and we really had some troubles in regards to even knowing people were in the building to be able to help them. A lot of times people come to City Hall and don't really know what they need. They know that they need something, and if I don't even know you're in the building, I don't have the opportunity to assist you. So that's taken care of in our new building here. It also brought all of our, or the majority, except for our park and rec staff, the majority of our individuals that work for the city here in one campus. So we're directly across from the Public Works Department, and we brought our engineering department internally as well. So if you come here, we're going to be able to help you. As part of that customer service initiative, we've also done online processing for a lot of our stuff, and that's going to continue to move forward into the future. So, you know, you may not even need to come to City Hall, where in the past you had to. The other thing we're really proud of is our new community center and ice arena. This is almost a $30 million project, several years. Jamie Polly and her staff, our Director of Parks and Recreation, did a phenomenal job putting this together. And it really is one of those truly remarkable places when it comes to facilities, not only in the metro area, but frankly in the state. I'll put this facility against anything out there. It has two NHL-sized rinks. We have 2,400 square foot 24,000 square foot aquatic center, which has all kinds of fun things for, especially in the winter months. Everything from a children's area to an aquatic climbing wall to a lap pool, just a lot of great things there. We have a dedicated senior lounge and a teen lounge as well. And there are a lot of new fitness studios that are also part of this. The community center and the ice arena was one of those things that not everybody in the community was very excited about. It really was a divisive issue for the community as a whole. we are actively working to address the community concerns that we have in regards to that facility. It's important to understand that council as well has been looking at this. They want to make sure that the money that was invested in that particular facility is absolutely being used to the best that we possibly can. So they have asked, as I said in the 2017 goals, what they wanted was a monthly review of the finances for that particular facility, and that happens on a monthly basis at this point. Great news is that some revenues have been substantially more than what we anticipated for the facility. To counterbalance that a little bit is also that our utility expense was a little more specifically in the ice arena. However, we have essentially adjusted those for our 2018 budget, and I'm confident that the facilities will continue to move forward in a financially stable way. Customer service will be the focus of this particular facility, and as well as I said, for the city as a whole, but especially for the community center and ice arena. We understand that it was a divisive issue when it was brought forward. We want to do everything we can to try to make sure that people understand that this is their facility, and we're going to do everything we can to give great customer service out of there. We've had a lot of recent city projects downtown as well. If you haven't had the opportunity to be downtown since we started these, please come in, and especially come in during the spring when we'll have our final plannings in and some other things that we need to touch up yet. But there was a new entrance sign and plaza at the River City Center. The whole point of that was to give a more welcoming feel to the community. We have a new plaza in front of the O'Brien's restaurant. It has downtown emblazoned on it, and really is a usable space where before all it was a patch of grass. We have a new parking lot and a new alley system that the alleys aren't fully complete. We've got some more that we're going to be doing downtown. But they're more than, especially the parking lot and the alley, they are more than just what you see. What those particular pieces are actually water moving infiltration systems. There's a lot of work that went on underground. So the whole point is that we're helping to get rid of some of the water that traditionally would pool downtown, and it is now being filtered and returned back to our aquifers. We have new signage, and we also have new street lights. There'll be more new street lights as we move into the future. And if you haven't seen our entrance display with our Chief Shakopee statue, please go down and see that as you come over the bridge on 101. Thanks to the Miniwak and the Sioux community who donated that statue. We're truly re-embracing our history, and we're in the process of fundraising right now for the statue that will go on the other side of that statue facing First Avenue, and that is Reverend Pond. And you can see a clay sculpture of Reverend Pond statue. It's a very rough kind of thing what we're looking at this point, but it's made by the same person who put who did the chief statue. And he was so excited about the opportunity that at this point, he's done this without even having a contract. So he did some research on Reverend Pond. He is Native American. He understood the importance of Reverend Pond to the Sioux community as a whole, and so he's already started to work on that. When it comes to the stability of the city as a whole, I think it's very important that we all understand that growth really is the key to success. Growth expands the pie, and if everything else, when I mean the pie, I mean basically the taxable portion of the city. And what that means is that everything else stays the same. That growth will make your taxes decrease. So we're very lucky that we're in a growing community. There are a lot of places in the United States where we do not have growth, where it's stagnant. And that's where you have a lot of concerns and a lot of issues when it comes to keeping communities fresh and alive. We do have residential need. We have a need for housing, and we're especially looking at the West End, as I'll talk about in a few minutes, in regards to addressing that need. We have a lot of commercial activity, but the thing to understand in commercial activity, there's a thing called fiscal disparities, which basically means that for commercial property, the tax dollars, 1/3 of that tax dollars goes away to the state for them to divvy out to other communities that aren't growing. And finally, when it comes to the issue of growth, we just completed last year, earlier this year actually, an annexation agreement with Jackson Township, which will orderly bring portions of Jackson into the city of Shakopee over time, which will then allow us to continue to grow. Part of that growth on the West End especially is residential. And I kind of wanted to outline for you what we currently have in the pipeline when it comes to growth in general, and also break it down in residential, and commercial, and et cetera. Currently, D.R. Horton is putting 200 single-family units in the West End area, over by where Hy-Vee is currently. It is estimated that there'll ultimately be 1,300 units, single-family units in that particular area. We've approved the West Veerling apartments, which are behind IV. There's 133 market rate apartments there. Sand Company has some apartments that are going in. They're 350 market rate units. Prairie Meadow has 23 single-family units, and Lennar Homes has 103 single-family units. So we're trying to address those housing needs. Clearly, people want to be a part of Shakopee and its growth and who we are as a community, and that especially is true for businesses. When we look at our commercial growth, it's clear that if it wasn't for the West End, we wouldn't have very many commercial spaces available. So that West End portion of that will also become commercial. But as we look at what we've got on the table right now, and either is in place or in the process of being put together, let's not forget the impact that Hy-Vee has had on this community. I think, I tell the story, I'd been here for just a couple weeks and went to a local Night to Unite event where you go around, city employees go around to the different communities and meet with residents and get input and kind of get an idea of what their concerns are. More than anything else, I was reprimanded for not having a Hy-Vee in Shakopee. And part of me wanted to say, well, like, I just got here a couple weeks ago. But the reality is that, whether it was in Southbridge or whether it was on the west side of town or whether it was in the older parts of Shakopee, people wanted more choices when it came to their grocery shopping. So we're pretty excited about having Hy-Vee and their partners, both St. Francis, which has a clinic there now, and Hometown Bank. MyPillow is now totally in Shakopee, and they're over next to the Amazon facility. You have a new trucking company that is next to MyPillow. You have RIC Incorporated, which is on 2nd Avenue, RTL Construction on 4th and Saracen, Fountain Industries at 750 Innovation Drive, Doggy Doos is being put in on the West End. They're moving from their area close to RAR out to the West End. And then, probably one of the nicest theaters I've ever been in, but the New Marcus Theaters out in Southbridge. We also have had a lot of interest in daycare and education and treatment facilities. You can see here we have Ladybug Daycare over by where Jackson School is, next to Hy-Vee, Rainbow Daycare in Southbridge, the River Valley Montessori School, which is going in across from Arc Automotive in the downtown area, and then the St. Francis Clinic at Hy-Vee, and the North Star Regional Treatment Facility, which will also go on the West End to help with some of our treatment needs. Downtown revitalization, again, if you haven't been downtown, please get down there and take a look at what's happening, not only from the city perspective, but also from the different organizations that are looking to make downtown their home. We have the new Shakopee Brew Hall, which is our second brewing facility in the city. And then our facade loan program has really did some great work with Pablo's, Babes, Lady Dies, Paul's Bike Shop, and my favorite, the QVC Soup Ladies, Maggie and Mary's North Air Market. What can you expect from the future? Well, clearly, if you've been paying attention, Canterbury Commons has now been moving forward. We're pretty excited as a community as a whole to see what Randy Sampson and his team are going to put together for Canterbury. RAR is planning more expansion in the future, so stay tuned for that. We currently have the RFP put out for both the downtown areas of Old City Hall and some property that we own on the river. The county projects at 169, 41, and 78 are clearly something that we as a city are paying attention to, and ultimately that particular area will be brought into the city as part of our orderly annexation plans. And then finally, as I mentioned before, the real continued growth that you're going to see in the West End and currently Jackson Township, both commercial and residential. We're in the process of working on our 2040 comp plan, and what that is essentially our blueprint, our guidepost, if you will, for where we're headed in the future, the very long-term future. As part of that, we really wanted, much like we did with the budget process, we really wanted to take a different look at this comprehensive plan. Traditionally, when it came to comprehensive plans, you got a bunch of professional planners and people like me in a room, and we would work and work and work, and then we'd come out and say, hey, look at this, this is our plan. We really wanted to flip that around, and we really wanted to make sure that the public really was the driving force behind our particular comprehensive plan. So we started a 4-month process of figuring out what you wanted, what you thought was important when it came to where we're headed in the future. We're still in the process of conducting that outreach. We are going to have a January 30th community workshop at the community center. So if you're interested in giving input, please be a part of that. So far at this point, we've identified emerging trends that you as a community have outlined, and they essentially are these. First, the plan should reflect Shakopee's values and should be strategically. It should be used strategically, meaning, let's not just have this plan and decide that we're going to leave it on the shelf. If we're going to put the effort into the plan, let's use it. Second, the sense of Shakopee as a community is very important to you as the general public. Transportation options are critical when we look at this. Clearly, we understand that there are issues when it comes to the 169 bridge as we head over into Bloomington, especially during rush hours, and those are the kinds of things that we're looking at. Park and trail connections are needed. We're very lucky with the quality of our park system and the amount of trails that we have in our city. One of the first things I noticed when I came in, I used to be a runner, a lot more than I am now, but I looked at the trail system and I was really impressed with that. But some of those trails need to be brought together. We have some gaps in that, and so we're going to be looking at that. It's important to you as the general public that how we look as a community, that we make sure that we pay attention to that. And also as part of that, that keeping downtown fresh and vibrant is key. As noted before, we recognize this, but it's kind of nice to have the validation from the public as a whole, is that we really need quality housing choices. And finally, we need to continue to maintain a strong and diverse economy. So we're getting close to wrapping up here, so if you have questions and you'd like me to try to answer them, please text those in to us. But one question that I get a lot of times is, very frankly, why can't government be more like a business? Well, the reality is that we aren't a business. We don't deliver a product. As I said before, when you go into let's say a clothing store, for example, and you see a shirt you like, you're getting a tangible product, and then you're paying money for that. We really provide services more than anything else. But more important than that, if you take everything that we do as a city and a community put together, we're delivering public value. It's kind of an intangible. As I said before, we take your taxes, and that gives us we have a higher moral responsibility because of that, in my idea. So there are often times that we are doing things that a business would never do. We will put something out there that we actually lose money doing. Whether it's a recreation program, whether it's fire services, whether it's anything else, most of the things that we do, quote unquote, lose money. But it's not a financial transaction in that respect because you're getting public value back out of it. However, we certainly can learn from business, and this is something I've taken to heart over the years. We need to be more efficient. We need to look at business processes and process improvement plans, which is exactly what businesses do every day, is they're looking for that bottom dollar, they're looking for that profit margin. We need to do the same to make sure that we're putting together real efficient, effective programs out there for you at a good tax dollar. And finally, again, one of my biggest things, customer service. If you were going into a place to buy a shirt and you didn't have good customer service, and even if it was a good price, chances are pretty good that's going to leave a bad taste in your mouth. You may not even go back there. Well, you don't have the ability to not come to us for certain things. And like I said, we need to make sure that our customer service is above none. Finally, how does business navigate the government bureaucracy? Well, any government is filled with bureaucracy. My background is at the federal level before I came into local government, and I got frustrated with bureaucracy. And that's why I ultimately came into the local government sector. But the reality is that there is a way to navigate the government bureaucracy. And that, frankly, is demand excellent customer service from your government and hold them accountable. It's okay. I want to know if we're not meeting your expectations, whether it's due to taxes, whether it's due to customer service, whether it's due to anything. Don't assume that we know. Don't assume that our directors understand. Please, if you have issues, reach out. If you have things that you want to know, ask. That's why we're here. Well, I want to thank you for your time and attention this afternoon. I sincerely appreciate it. We at the city are committed to doing everything we can to keeping Shakopee the wonderful place to be that it is, and keeping those taxes at a reasonable level, and providing excellent service throughout it. This is my information. We're here, our new city hall is at 485 Gorman Street. You can reach out to me. My direct line is 952-233-9311, or at B. Reynolds at ShakopeeMN.gov. Do we have any questions? Well, thank you very much for everything. I sincerely appreciate it. Again, reach out if you have anything we can do for you in the future. Good afternoon.